So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, YouTubers out there in YouTube land, wherever you may be. Welcome back for another edition of FX Studio 2, and I am your host, G Sharp Jams. Wanted to take an opportunity to talk to you about two subjects that are very hot out there right now. A lot of debate, a lot of discussion going on, and that being analog summing and Dolby Atmos. Should you or shouldn't you? Let's discuss. So, first things first, you may have noticed I'm not in my studio today. I'm actually upstairs in the TV rec room in my home. Reason being, and I know that you're going to feel for me, right now I am undergoing some maintenance in the studio. I'm doing some rewiring. And if you've ever rewired your studio, you know how much of a pain in the neck that can be. It is tedious. Rewiring, relabeling, making sure everything's going where it's supposed to go. It is a pain in the neck, but it had to be done. I put it off way too long, and I'm finally getting to it. So anyway, here we are in my rec room in my beautiful home, and I'll be talking to you from here today. But next video, we'll be back in the studio. Anyway, today, I wanted to talk to you about two different subjects, as I said before, analog summing and Dolby Atmos. Should you or shouldn't you? I'm going to begin with the discussion on Dolby Atmos. First things first, what exactly is Dolby Atmos? In a nutshell, Dolby Atmos is 3D sound. It is sound that goes all over the place and then brings it to the listener so that they're hearing it from many different perspectives, as opposed to stereo, where you're hearing it in the left and you're hearing it in the right and you're hearing it in the center. With Dolby Atmos, you're hearing top, center, top right, top left, front, center, right, and left. And then you have your two sides. It just gets crazy. You end up having to use 12 different monitors for this thing. But it does sound fantastic. I got to say that. It definitely sounds great. Now, question becomes, is this something that I want to get into and offer in my studio? A very long answer, answered as short as I possibly can, is it really takes into consideration, what is your clientele? Are your clientele willing to shill out the extra bucks it's going to take for you to record for them in Dolby Atmos? Because Dolby Atmos isn't your typical $30, $40, $50 an hour rate to do a recording. Dolby Atmos rates are a lot higher than that. So the first thing you need to consider is, who are your clients? Do you just have some local bands coming in every now and then, they do some recording in your studio? You probably don't need Dolby Atmos. If you have higher end clients who have cut records, and I mean records that you hear on the radio, or they're getting to that point and they want to keep up with the times, it might be something that you want to consider. But I would strongly suggest first, put a bug in their ear and ask them, have you heard about this Dolby Atmos? Do you know that Apple Music is going to be moving to Dolby Atmos within their platform? Is this something you think you might be interested in moving forward? Put the feelers out there. Ask people what they're thinking about before you go ahead and invest all this money into a Dolby Atmos system, because it is a huge investment. Like I said, you're talking about anywhere between 8 to 12 monitors, and if you're doing it correctly, it's 12 monitors. Then you've got to get the software. That's about another $1,000. A lot of other tools, a lot of other equipment that are going to go along with that. Not only that, you have to take a look at the time investment. Learning Dolby Atmos and learning how to do it correctly is huge. Now, I can tell you from firsthand experience and from speaking to other people within the industry, there are a lot of folks out there who are doing Dolby Atmos in their studios. A lot. Some of them, and I'm not even going to hesitate to say it, their work is horrible because they got into this thing and they said, I want to be able to offer it to my clients, so let me get into it, let me learn it. And they did, but they still haven't mastered the technique. They haven't mastered the art of recording in Dolby Atmos. And just like you and me, with our home studios or semi-professional studios that we may have, we know it takes time to learn how to do audio engineering with software and hardware and mixing and mastering and gain staging and all those other things. It takes time when you have up to, listen to this, up to 128 channels to work with in Dolby Atmos, learning how to place them correctly, and then learning how to make them move around within that space. That takes time. You've got to learn what you're doing in order for it to sound correctly. So, few things to take into consideration. One, who are my clientele? Number two, do I have the time to invest in this project? Because it's going to be a project and it's going to take some time. Number three, and most important of all, do I have the space within my studio to get this done? If you're at home and you've got a home studio and you just want to get into it and be a hobbyist with this thing, fine, go ahead. But understand something. There are specific specifications on using Dolby Atmos to record. The room size, and I'm not sure exactly what the size of the rooms are, but it's out there on the internet. You can Google it. The room specifications have to be a certain size because you have speakers on the top, speakers on the bottom, speakers on the side, speakers behind you, and speakers in front of you. It's a lot of speakers. They can't sit 2 feet in front of you, 2 feet behind you, and 2 feet on the side. I believe the specification is something like 12 by 12, and it's probably more than that. So if you're looking at getting into Dolby Atmos and your room is 12 by 12, remember this. That's not going to be enough room, and here's why. You still have your mixing console. You still have your racks of outboard gear. You still have the chair that you sit in to get all of this done. So you're talking at least another 5, 6 feet. So now you're talking about probably 12 by 20. That's a big room. Now, the room that I'm in right now, my rec room, sure, I could probably do that in here. However, I'm not tearing apart my TV room. I love watching TV too much, and I love watching movies. Just between you and me. Anyway, these are the things that you have to take into consideration when it comes to Dolby Atmos. Is it for everybody? If you're just a home studio and it's a hobby and you enjoy making music, I wouldn't plunk down the thousands and thousands of dollars that it's going to take for you to get this done. If you're a semi-professional recording studio and your clientele have expressed an interest in this, you might want to consider taking the dive. If you're a well-established studio with well-established clients who have record deals, who have the financing behind them, go ahead and do it. But keep in mind that it's going to take time. Be right back, and we're going to get to analog summing. Okay, welcome back, and I hope you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Let's move on now, and let's talk about analog summing. Now, again, first thing, what exactly is analog summing? Very simply, analog summing is using a piece of gear that's going to take the music and these instruments that you have inside the box, inside your DAW, and bring them out of that DAW and put them into this external piece of gear and run them through an analog system. What's the point of doing this? Obviously, number one, you get that analog sound. Number two, you get the analog sound that you get from this is what they say, the analog sound that you get from a large studio console. Now, is that true with all of the analog summing devices that are out there today? No. You'll come very close with most of them. The Shelford series by Neve makes a fantastic analog summing device, and they also have the Orbit 5057, I believe it is. Dangerous Music makes a very good analog summing device. I'm not sure of the model number there, but you can Google it or go to YouTube. There's plenty of videos on there about it. But analog summing in a nutshell is being able to take what you have created inside the box, inside your DAW, and then process it so that it sounds as if you've done it on an analog professional mixing console. That's what it is. Now, is it for you? That's the question. Very simply, if you work inside the box, you're just using plugins, you're using software, whatever the case may be, and you're not using outboard analog gear, but you want that analog sound, then I say yes. You probably want to get the analog mixer, the analog summing box rather. It gives you a lot more headroom to work with. You get that gorgeous, warm sound that you can only get with analog gear. And it's going to sound a lot better if that's the sound that you're going for. On the other hand, if you're a home hobbyist, and this isn't going to be going out professionally and it's just something you like to make music and play it back in your car for you and your friends to listen to, do you really need analog summing? Well, if you got the bucks to do it, go ahead and do it. Have fun, knock yourself out. We've all done that. I've done it. Bought a piece of gear we really didn't need, but we just wanted to have it. We went ahead and bought it, so go ahead and get it. But if that's not who you are, if you don't have the budget to do it, there's other pieces of gear out there you probably want to consider first. Analog summing just isn't for everyone. If you're already using outboard gear and you're getting that analog sound within your mix, why do you need the analog summer? Well, people say it gives you more headroom to work with. And this is true, it does give you more headroom to work with, but let me throw some caution to the wind here. More headroom can be a very dangerous thing. If you're recording and you're already hitting yellow on those meters, you're probably recording too hot already. Having more headroom just becomes a dangerous tool because now you have more room to work with and you're just driving that thing up louder and louder and louder, and you're thinking to yourself, wow, I've got all this room to work with. Let's go. Let's make this thing nice and loud and crank it up. And then you go back and you listen to it in your car and you say, why does everything sound scratchy? Why does everything sound just not in place where it should be? Because you recorded it too loud. Having extra headroom isn't the answer to all of your problems. You need to learn gain staging. That's what you need to do. That's the trick. It has nothing to do with headroom. It has nothing to do with the extras that analog summing is going to do for you. It has a lot to do and mostly to do with proper gain staging. So, in a nutshell, is analog summing for you? If you're working mostly in the box, and then you want that pure, warm sound that only analog can give you, by all means, go for it. However, if you're already using analog gear, and you're getting that nice, warm analog sound, do you really need it? Probably not. Probably not. You're being redundant, you're overdoing it, it's a piece of gear that you're going to get to the point where you're going to say to yourself, why did I buy this? These are the things that you need to think about before you start shelling out your hard-earned money. Analog summing, fantastic, if you need it. And going back to our other discussion on Dolby Atmos, fantastic, if there's a need for it for you and for your clients. Thanks again for watching. G-Sharp Jams out. Peace out, and we'll be back soon. I've got a video planned for you that's going to be on compression, and in particular multi-band compression compared to dynamic EQ. There is a difference. They act differently, and you need to know what that difference is and how to apply them correctly. So that one's coming soon. Stay tuned. May not be the next video, but it's coming. It's going to be within the next 1 or 2 or 3 videos. So stay tuned. Thanks again for watching. Everybody have a great day. And remember, it's all about experimentation, thinking outside of the box, and being creative. Everybody have a great day.
Awesome.